Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. Today we're going to discuss my review of the Grenada Citizenship by Investment program. We're going to cover the costs, we're going to cover how long it takes, we're going to cover the visa-free access that you get. I'm going to compare it specifically to Saint Kitts, but also to the other ones, and give you an idea of if that is the right program for you. So stick around. If you haven't already, please smash the subscribe button, nail the notification bell. Really appreciate your support. We try to produce great content for you every single day. You can go and check out our videos. We've got like one every day, so lots of good content. This is part of a Citizenship by Investment review series that I'm doing. I'm actually going to go through and talk to the heads of the programs at some point in time as well, so we can kind of get that information. And so if you're interested at all in Citizenship by Investment, then definitely go and check back at some of the others. I'm covering all the ones that are official, all the unofficial ones, at least the ones that I'm connected with, and yeah, hopefully to help you out there. If you'd like help at all with these subjects of international tax planning, international structuring, getting residencies, citizenships, forming companies, opening bank accounts, setting up trusts, both on the strategy side, on the personal side, please reach out to us. You can book a call with me, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer, link in the description below, or you can check out our websites, offshorecitizen.net, offshorecapitalist.com, and you can send a message through there. Okay. So, Grenada. Now, Grenada is, some people might say, the most powerful of the Caribbean citizenships. I'm going to discuss with you whether that is the case or not. There's some pros and cons of Grenada, but specifically Grenada is, at least by straight donation, the most expensive along with Saint Kitts. So, for those of you who haven't followed along, there's 5 programs in the Caribbean. There's St. Lucia, there's Grenada, there's Dominica, there's Antigua, there's Saint Kitts and Nevis. There's also in the South Pacific, Vanuatu. Then there's a few others around the world. But we usually typically look at these 5 in the Caribbean together. And 3 of those, Dominica, Antigua, and Lucia, all have a $100,000 donation. Now there's other options for investing and things like this. I'm going to talk about that. And some of those options make it maybe more attractive for some of them. The St. Kitts and Grenada ones both have $150,000 donation. So more expensive just on the donation side. This being said, if you go back and you look at, say, my St. Kitts one, I gave some arguments for why St. Kitts is potentially much better value than almost all of the other ones. It's, you know, basically the cheapest aside from St. Lucia if you do it right, or at least rather it's, I guess, you know, there's some options that make it very attractive. Anyway, so you can go and watch that video. I also did a video on how they made some changes to that program, but this video is about Grenada. So why is it that Grenada can get away with charging, you know, a bunch more? So let's first go through what the actual costs are on this program, and I'll have to pull them up. So I'm going to go through for you for a single applicant, applicant plus spouse, 2 dependents under the age of 16 and over the age of 16, and we'll look at how the prices come out. And this is first of all looking at the government donation option. Okay, so all the money is just gone. So in the single applicant version, okay, so if you're just one person and you're going to Grenada, it's $150,000 donation plus $5,000 due diligence fees plus $1,500 government processing fees plus a government application fee of $1,500 plus passport and oath fees of $270 plus courier fees of $400 plus professional fees of $6,000 and then bank fees plus VAT. The total works out to $164,670 for a single person. Okay. So if you add a spouse to that, I'm not going to go through the breakdown, but the donation amount goes up to $200,000. There's more due diligence fees because you have to do it on each person. Some more processing fees. The total comes to $222,940. Okay, for a family of 4 with 2 dependents under age 16, it's $227,480, and if they are 2 dependents over the age of 18, then you're at $239,480. Okay, so that kind of gives you the range. Obviously, if you've got more kids, you know, you can add on to that. And if you'd like a quote, reach out to me, and I'm happy to arrange that for you. Now, you also have the option of investing in real estate. Now, the thing that I always tell people about these real estate options, the exception being the new, more expensive one in St. Kitts, where you can buy basically any property, but it has to be $400,000 or more, is that when you're buying real estate in these, you're not getting a good deal, right? These are new developments that are inflated in price. That being said, let's talk about it. So how does it work in Grenada for real estate? So you have to do a project investment amount of $220,000. Then you still have the $5,000 due diligence fee, the government processing fee of $1,500, the government application fee of $1,500. Then there's a government fee of $50,000. Okay. Then there's passport and oath fees of $270, courier fees of $400, real estate transfer tax of $9,000. Then there's professional fees of $6,000. The total amount. Okay, so this is where we get tricky, right? The total amount that you have to put out for one person is $293,670, okay? That being said, you own a property, so in the future, after you've held it long enough in order to retain the citizenship, in the future you could in theory sell that and maybe you could recoup your $220,000. I'm skeptical whether you're actually going to get that much back for it or whether you're going to have to sell at a lower price, but maybe you can do that. Let's look at for main applicant plus spouse. The difference is basically just so you have the same amount in everything except for all the fees, like due diligence, etc. So the total is $301,940. Again, in theory, you could get $220,000 back. Maybe you get more. I think most likely you get less, right? So you're probably going to lose some of that, and you have the time value of that money. Family of four, $306,000. This is family of four with 2 dependents under the age of 16. It's $306,480, or for a family of 4 with 2 dependents over 16, it's $318,480. So anyway, in each of those scenarios, you have the potential of getting back this $220,000. So you could argue that the real cost is $220,000 less than that. I tend to say, realistically, the donation option is probably a better way to go. That's the most common way. But the point is that, okay, like you can see how this is basically the same price as Saint Kitts for a single applicant doing the donation route. And, let's look at, is it worth it? So it's going to take you about 3 to 4 months to get approved for Grenada. So not too bad, kind of comparable to a bunch of the programs in the Caribbean. So you kind of got that in mind. You're in a position where there's no fast track option. So whereas with Saint Kitts, you can do that fast track option, you increase the due diligence costs from $7,500 to $25,000, and it goes through within 2 months, is what they say. 60-day guarantee is kind of their idea. Or we've got Grenada. So why would somebody go with Grenada compared to Saint Kitts, or vice versa? Most of the people, so just in general, when I'm dealing with clients, the most popular option that I'm seeing is Saint Kitts. Okay, that seems to be most people's interest. And generally, in the video I did on that, in my opinion, it's probably the best option for most people. Okay, kind of what you get for the money tends to be the best. If you're really, trying to go as cheap as possible, then St. Lucia is typically the cheapest, or at least for a single person. Changes a little bit when you start to have a family, right? But you can play around with that. However, that being said, that's a worse passport, right? So let's talk about the visa-free access of these. So if you have Grenada, you have 144 countries visa on arrival or visa-free access, whereas St. Kitts you have 156, right? So you're missing quite a few. I've kind of gone through and noted the main ones here. So the ones that you're missing: Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, French Guyana. Those are 4 that Grenada does not have that St. Kitts does have, okay? In Europe, you're missing out on Belarus, Northern Macedonia, Albania, and Ukraine. Okay, so those 4 you're also missing. Then you're missing Tunisia, you are missing Lebanon, you are missing Pakistan, you are missing Tonga. Okay, so I think there's 1 or 2 others, but they're like nothing type places. So seems worse, right? Like, okay, so why does somebody interested in Grenada? So most of the people I talk to who are interested in Grenada are Americans who are looking at renouncing and want to have access back to the US. We're going to talk about that in a second. Or sometimes people from abroad who want access to the US. And this is because Grenada has 2 main advantages to it. So it has Eswati, or Eswatini, however you pronounce it. Anyway, it's obviously who all has gone there. I don't know it, and I know quite a few countries. So that's most people probably aren't going to be affected by that one. But the 2 that they may be affected by are the U.S. So Grenada is the only citizenship by investment program in the Caribbean that has E2 visa access to the US. Okay, so E2 visa is an investor visa. So your access is potentially better. Now, it doesn't mean you can't get a tourist visa with Saint Kitts or with St. Lucia or something like this, but E2 investor visa, you have to go through if you're looking at the Caribbean, Grenada. The other thing that it has is China. So here's the interesting question, right? And I think this is a useful question just to ask in general when we're looking at citizenship by investment programs. And part of this is personal. Part of it is, I think there's some objectivity to it, which is certain countries it's easy to get access to. For example, if you're going to go to Egypt, basically, so I have a Canadian passport, I go to Egypt, I need a visa. But what is the visa process? The visa process is when you land in the airport, you walk over to this booth, you pay $20, you get this little piece of paper, you put it in your passport, you walk over to the desk and you go in. Not a big deal, right? By contrast, if I was to go to look at somebody who doesn't have visa-free access to UK, the process of getting a UK visa, even for tourist purposes, is fairly complicated and you could get turned down. Same thing looking at visa-free access to the US. Fairly complicated, could get turned down, right? So there's certain countries that are difficult to get into. There's certain countries that are difficult to get approved for. And there's certain countries where they may not be difficult necessarily. It's not just about whether they're difficult to get into or not, it's about their significance. And certainly, like if I was to compare, okay, let's just look. Tonga, Pakistan versus China, right? China's far more significant, right? And as time goes forward into the future, China's probably going to become increasingly significant. So the value of having visa-free access to China could be dramatically greater than a bunch of these others, right? If you compare Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, French Guiana, Tunisia, arguably Belarus, like most of these ones that you don't get access to with Grenada, that you get access to with Saint Kitts, it's questionable whether you want them, right? Like maybe you are, maybe you're somebody who hey, listen, I love Albania, I love Northern Macedonia, I love Ukraine, and I don't want the hassle of dealing with that. And so for me, St. Kitts is better. Okay, cool, that's your situation. Somebody else might be like, hey, listen, China's number one for me. It's a pain to go through the Chinese visa process, and I'm gonna be going there frequently. Maybe you've got a drop shipping business or something, and you have suppliers there, and you need to go and visit fairly frequently to see them. Maybe you're doing other business. This is one of the only passports in the world. There's very few passports that give visa-free access both to Russia and to China. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about where they don't have access to. Let's talk a little bit about where they do have access to. So all of the Schengen zone, all of the EU, including they have UK, which obviously is no longer EU, and Ireland. So sometimes you'll get passports that give visa-free access to the Schengen zone, but they won't include UK and Ireland, and so they have that. They don't have access to Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, United States, again, barring that E2 visa thing that I was mentioning, South Africa, Mexico. So these are ones that are more unlikely that you would have them. They're harder countries to get, and so in that sense, it's pros and cons. That being said, I think the array of countries that you get and the significance of those countries for the Grenada passport is for sure, if not number one, number two, right? Just by raw numbers, like I said, St. Kitts has more, but they miss out on China being a pretty big player, and they miss out on the E2 visa access, so bit of a toss-up. To me, when I look at it, most of the time, maybe I'm biased by, cost. I can get a better deal potentially on St. Kitts. And I can basically going through the real estate option and things like that. So I like that. I like to save money. And number two, I would rather have more countries. This being said, again, very personal. So to me, St. Kitts is probably number one in the Caribbean, but Grenada is number two. If you're willing to pay that extra, I think the question is very personal on which one, whether it's, you say, hey, listen, is it worth an extra, around 50 grand to do Grenada versus something like St. Lucia? Totally up to you. Anyway, I hope that helps, gives you a little bit of an overview of the program. It's perfectly good program, I would say, perfectly good country. Not one that we do too commonly, but that being said, is certainly worth looking at. So if you like that, if you have any questions about it, please put them in the comments below or reach out to us. If you'd like help with getting a citizenship by investment program, you can reach out to us. You can send a message through offshorecitizen.net or offshorecapitalist.com. You can book a call if you have specific questions about any of this kind of stuff. And I'm going to look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. I hope you give it a thumbs up. I hope you do that. Oh, and one other thing. If you haven't already, I have another channel you can go and check out, solutionspodcast.com, or not Solutions Podcaster, the Solutions Podcast, sorry, on YouTube, so you can go and check that out. We talk about some cool stuff. We did an interview recently with somebody who escaped from North Korea and some interesting things like that. So anyway, hope you like that. We're going to see you guys on the next video.